Hey there, everyone. Welcome back to Leadership Lessons with Cheri. I'm excited to be back here with you this week. I'm excited that we all survived. I work in a school and whew, it's rough out there right now. And I can see things happening and it's just patterns and patterns and patterns. And I spent hours on the phone with my daughter yesterday. The same things are happening at her school. It's rough right now. So if you know a teacher, a principal, a superintendent, a school leader of any kind, go out there and give them a hug because they deserve it. And this week, I want to talk about something that I feel is such a timely piece in all of this because even on the rough days, leadership and your success as a leader is all about how you treat others during these stressful times, how you show up, and how you conduct your business. I have seen every end of the spectrum over the past 30 years, and I got into leadership probably about 20 years ago. As actually, it was 20 years ago. I transitioned out of my classroom into instructional specialist roles and then into district level leadership and then campus level and all of the things. 20 years that I've spent time in that role, learning and growing and building my own skills, mentoring others to build their skills. And the biggest thing I see happen when leaders fail is one of the P's. And I think it's the most important P. So let me first share the P's. P1 is your programs. What do you have going? What are your systems? What is it you stand for? What are you selling? What are you building? What are you growing? For us in education, our programs were all about building and growing children, right? Our processes. So again, your systems, policies, procedures, your climate and culture kind of fits into that as well. And then the one I think is the most important is your people. Your people, your clients, your customers, and your team. Now, when I wrote in my very first published book, no, I'm lying. I was published in college in a college little small journal for with poetry. So my very first newly published book, Unleash Her, just have a chapter in that book. But I write in that chapter the moment, and our task was to find the moment, talk about the moment we knew we were meant for more. And my moment was the day I met my daughter. I got pregnant as a teenager. My ex-husband, who is her father, was still in high school. I had just graduated and I was in my first year of college. I was probably about, I would say I got pregnant around November. It's a long story, so I'm not going to go into all of the details, but let's just say November. So I was in college for a few months. He was still finishing up his senior year. We weren't living together, clearly. We were kids. I was living at my house, he was living at his house. Lots of stuff going on, right? He's trying to graduate high school and figure out what he was going to do next. We were trying to figure out if we were going to have a life together. I was trying to build my career. I did not plan to have a child. Wasn't even in my wheelhouse. I had a tough relationship with my mom growing up, and I just didn't want to be that mom. And I was afraid that history would repeat itself. But the night she was born, and I met her for the first time, and she looked up at me, it was almost as if the spiritual beings, God, the universe, whatever it was, her eyes were saying to me, I need you. You've got to be a strong woman, and I need you to teach me how to rock this whole thing called life. And in the moment, I was so young and I was scared. I was unsure of what my next steps were going to be, how it was all going to pan out. I knew I still wanted to reach all my goals and dreams, but didn't have any idea how it was going to happen. But I realized the responsibility that I now had on my plate. I realized the magnitude of everything I was going to do in life and how it was going to affect my little girl. Ooh, a big responsibility, right? I knew that I was no longer living life for just me. I was living life for two people. And I said yes to that responsibility. When I took on my very first classroom, I thought I knew everything. It was a rough year because we had made a change from a small town to a huge city, a different climate, culture, a different state, starting a new job. That's stressful in and of itself. But then there was also a move. My ex-husband didn't have a job right away. It was just a lot. But when I stepped into that classroom on the first day of school with students and looked at those fourth graders in their eyes, I thought, oh my gosh, I'm responsible for teaching them math and science this year. And I think, honestly, it completely overwhelmed me. And when I stepped into my very first role as a principal, and I looked at my staff for the first time at back to school staff development, the entire staff, knowing what I was getting, because there's history there. We had lost well, not lost. Our principal was removed the year prior, and I was taking on this group of people that had doubt. They didn't really know who I was. I was with them for a year as an assistant principal, but they didn't know really what I stood for because I had come in with this person that was horrible, and they saw me and connected me to that person, right? And I remember thinking, I'm responsible for these people. I have to get this right. And if I can't get it right, I better figure out how to get it right. Lean on my resources, build my tools, and find the right path forward if I can't do this work. I was on someone's podcast. I guess it's been about 2 months ago now. It was over spring break. I think we did the recording. And we were talking, and it was another principal, myself, and then two women. One's a principal and one's an assistant principal. They work together. They're a team, and they were just starting their podcast. We were their actual first episode. And we were having conversations kind of as a round table kind of setting. And the question was posed to us, how do we determine who we hire, what supports we give them, and when it's time to let someone go? And the principal opposite of me speaking said, you know what? You do your best, you hire who's out there. If they can't make it, you get rid of them. And it hit me. And I probably said something pretty controversial, and I know it was controversial, but I probably really ticked him off when I said it. And so when they came to me, I said, although you're right, we have to do our best at hiring based on the small amount of time we have to work with somebody as a candidate and make a decision. However, when they're on your team, we now have a responsibility to give them the best opportunity to grow. And if they can't step into that role and be their best based on the supports we've given them, then we make decisions whether to release them. But we don't do that until we know we have set them up for success. As I was talking to my former assistant principal, who's an assistant principal now at another campus, with a new leader this morning, just this morning, she was telling me about some staffing things that were going on. I mentor her, so she was giving me the lowdown. And she said, and unfortunately, I think this person was set up for failure. She said, and I feel bad. Leaders out there in the world, I don't care what profession you're in, y'all, we have got to realize that when we step into these leadership roles, our people they're the biggest responsibility we have. Are we going to hire right every single time? No, that's not reality. But we also need to set the conditions for people to be able to do their very best. If they choose not to do their very best, if they choose not to continue to learn and grow, it's a different conversation. But I see this happen so many times. Right now, I'm seeing it on so many different school campuses. I'm seeing it with new business owners. I'm seeing it with people that are moving up into managerial roles or leadership roles in sales and marketing and other types of industries. And it's almost as if the distrust is larger than the responsibility of taking care of our people. I remember sitting in a school board meeting as a new leader. I was still within my master's program and we had to sit on different school board meetings. This one was not in my district. And I'm sitting there, and the way the board was talking about their teaching staff gave me the feeling that they didn't trust these people to do the work. And the first thing that came into my mind, and this was when I was a brand new leader, was, so what are we doing to help? As a public school educator, I knew we opened the doors in August and we took anybody who enrolled. Well, I mean, within our boundaries, right? We didn't put you in a lineup and say, oh, you're tall. Okay, we're going to choose you. You're short. We're going to choose you. You're a boy. Okay, we choose you. You get the gist of that, right? We took whoever came to us that met our criteria. And the only criteria was you had to live in our boundary. We did not get to determine, we don't take you because you're in this program or that program. And then we were responsible for growing those kids. I think we forget that when we take on a person, we are saying yes to providing them with the best climate they can possibly work in, the best program that they can possibly work for, the best situation that's going to match their skills and grow their skills. And again, I'm not saying we don't get rid of people, because I've gotten rid of people, but I've never gotten rid of somebody who was actually learning and growing and making progress, even if their progress was a bit slow. I got rid of the people who didn't care, who didn't try, or who did the exact opposite of every single support we provided them. So this week, as you are winding down quarter 1, getting into quarter 2 now, getting into the month of May if you're in a school position and you are wrapping up the school year, getting ready for summer and all the refreshing that companies do during this time of the year. I challenge you to ask yourself the hard question. Do I make my people my responsibility? Do I provide my people the best environment I can give them so that they have an opportunity to succeed? And if that's not the case, what changes do you need to make so that this can happen? Leadership is such an awesome responsibility. You got into the role because you worked hard to get there. We can't assume now that we can just exist, not continue to learn and grow ourselves, and be able to be the ultimate level of success within our organization. Because I'm going to tell you what I feel, and this is how I will leave you. I want people to say, Cheri Dixon was a leader who cared about me. Cheri Dixon was a leader who made me feel like I was important. Cheri Dixon gave me support. And I knew that if I didn't succeed, it was because I didn't do the work I needed to do. And ultimately, Cheri Dixon is a leader I want to work for, no matter where she goes, no matter what she does. I want to be the ride or die. All right, y'all. Have a great week ahead. I'll see y'all right back here next week on Leadership Lessons with Cheri.